The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome to the Solar King podcast. My name is Russ Ward. I am the Solar King, and thank you for jumping in on another episode of the Solar King podcast. Today, I have a really cool guest, somebody that I have met in person, saw speak on stage, somebody that I greatly admire as not just a professional in the solar industry, but as a marketer. And he has a lot of great things to share to us. I would like to welcome to the Solar King podcast, Brent Attaway. Thank you so much for joining us today, Brent.
Thanks, Russ. Appreciate the intro and glad to be here.
Awesome, man. So, thanks again for joining us. And I just want to start out, people probably know of you as a solar marketer, but you have a cool hat that says FU Money. You have some SaaS products. Can you just tell us a little bit overview of what you do? And then we can kind of, just get into some questions that might help the audience from there.
Yeah. It's a mixed bag, isn't it? Especially for all of us that play entrepreneur and try to figure out a niche to dive into. But for me, first and foremost, I would say I'm a marketer. So I am a entrepreneur, meaning how I define entrepreneur, somebody who starts businesses, both failures and successes, and understands that game, how to build a team, how to build systems, how to see something and create it out of, more or less thin air. So that part I would call an entrepreneur, but I love marketing side of it. That's if I'm going to lean towards a position, if we were all to get in a room and say, okay, who's going to take which role? I'm going to say, I hope I get to do marketing. So it's not going to be sales. It's not going to be, I like the systems and processes of things, but maybe for a minute. I think I like it because it makes things more simple, and I like simple, straightforward processes. So I care to get those in place. So we're not all working too hard for no reason. But otherwise, marketing is my thing. My background's marketing. I'll be really fast with this. Started in business when I was about 24, and in college at the same time. When I say started, I mean, like I bought a company, a sign company, printing vehicle wraps, things like that. I took it over, an existing sign company. I was working there as the manager, and that was my first like real business venture. Everything else had been like, I had my own window washing, I did painting, I did some like just skills stuff, but essentially that wasn't a real business. It was just me trying to be my own boss, which there's a big difference, right? Being your own boss compared to running a business. And what I learned at the sign company, I just kept going and networking, and it was all brick and mortar. That's all I knew. So no online anything. This is 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, then 2008 hits. And then we basically short sell that company because the economy and making bad decisions on top of a bad economy. So we get rid of that company, sold it. But then that's when I got into the online world, is right at the end of that. I knew it was coming. I was trying to figure it out. And I started, one of my business coaches at the time introduced me to this online world of information marketing. Let's just call it that. So I actually come from that background, Russ, is info products. So develop info products. If anyone listens, I think this is a kind of a cool topic, is for solar and for people. Like if you look at sales games and solar companies, not just sales, it's a product that goes on a roof. Ultimately, the end product is a physical thing that goes on a roof, usually a roof, right, for residential. And then it goes here, and it's a thing that it's physically goes through some wires, and it delivers power to a consumer. Like that is the value you're giving them ultimately, or not the value, the deliverable. So now they have the deliverable. Well, information products, the deliverable is the information, and there's different ways we can give you the information, through video, through download PDFs, through quizzes, and through coaching or consulting, but it's just information. So it's an interesting game because it's I enjoy it because I think people love being educated. I think they enjoy it. And then out of the few percentage that actually go implement what they learned, they get
So
a
true.
lot of results, right? And so it's an interesting game. It's not like I'm installing a panel into your brain and somehow it just starts working like solar does, right? It's information product. So that's where I learned. And I think for me, when I got into solar, Russ, is I was already building funnels. I fast forward, I already built a marketing agency, a marketing funnel agency is what I call it, because all we did was marketing funnels. We specialized in that one thing, like 2,000 funnels in under 2 years that we built, and everything from lead funnels, webinar funnels, follow-up funnels. All this is all before Russell Brunson made funnels popular. This was way before that. It was actually more Infusionsoft made funnels possible. If anybody knows what Infusionsoft is still, then good for you guys. It's now called Keep, Keap. And that's what I was working with. That's where we built funnels. We'd build them on WordPress, mix it with Infusionsoft. That was the automation. WordPress, we had all kinds of plugins making all this stuff happen for funnels. Well, as we built that up, it was always get a lead, qualify the lead, whether it's a nurture of some sort, but qualify the lead, get them on an appointment, sell them the thing, whatever you were selling, and then fulfill the thing. Well, that is the same as solar. So it was very easy to translate that. It's like, go get the lead, qualify them, book an appointment, show up, close the deal. It was an interesting game. And then most people that get into solar now, I think, are young enough. The majority are sub 35 years old. Definitely sub 30 and so on, right? There's that 30 to 35-year-old is a small window. Sorry, I'm fidgeting with stuff right here. You see this? But like that, most people are under 30 in solar and sales, and they don't realize that all the things they talk about on these Facebook groups, and you and I might talk about, or what they're asking, the struggle they have, that struggle is not new. That's been around forever, as long as it's taken a sales appointment to close a deal. All the
Right.
same objections, all the same problems, all the same no-shows, and we just call them ghosted appointments instead of no-shows. We call it, like, it's just a new name, new generation, same problems. And so for me, solar was that. And my younger brother is a lot younger than I am, so it was kind of cool. Like, I'm almost 40 when I got into, so I'm 43 now, but I was like 39 or something like that when we got into, 39 when I got into solar, 2019. And my brother was 13 younger than I am. So what is he, 27-ish, in that range? Okay. So he is in that generation. And then I'm this old dude comparably. And we're thinking, like, he's like, oh man, all these problems are this thing. I'm like, dude, this is easy. This is so, like, no one else. Why isn't anyone nurturing? Why isn't anyone automating this? Why isn't anyone, like, this is 2019, Russ. And I know you probably were, but there's maybe 1.5% of people knew there's such thing as booking a automated appointment, following up with them, nurturing them, and getting them to show up without having to call them 1,000 times to remind them. So
Right.
like that's already been existing. It's just solar is new, and solar has some old thinking, old school thinking, or outdated thinking that nobody understands. There's automation and stuff in place. So for me, it gets exciting. That's the story, but I know I'm jumping the gun, but that's the shortcut of why I even do solar. I'm not a solar guy. I'm not a door-to-door knocker. I don't sell a bunch of solar myself. I've always managed the teams, built the systems, built the marketing, and said, let's get to work. So I relate a lot better with business owners, not the sales rep that's out sweating their ass off, knocking doors. I can relate to that. Don't get me wrong. It's just sometimes I'll push them away. So they're like, oh, he doesn't know what hard work is. I was like, yeah, that's because I work very smart, my man. So like it's just a different thing. I love talking to sales reps because we get along, but I always give them shit. I'm like their old uncle that says, stop doing things the dumb way. So that's how I relate to solar. So there's your audience, guys. Here's Brent Attaway, the grumpy guy.
Get off my lawn, Brent Attaway. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. Well, thanks for that background. So so you were doing marketing, and then you came across solar and decided to jump into solar marketing. Why did you decide on solar marketing when you got into it in 2019?
Um, at the time I was doing consulting, so it's important to understand like where I was coming from. So I was doing consulting. I'd already sold our funnel company, our agency, and I was doing consulting at that point, and I've done consulting before that, but now it came full circle. The pattern, guys, usually goes like this. You get good at something. People ask you, how did you do it? They pay you to teach them. And then you go get good at something else. And then they ask you to teach them that as well. So like I've gone from doing services to consulting to services to consulting constantly. Right.
Right.
I was in that time period of consulting more on building funnels than I was doing it for people. And then at that time, Bennett, my younger brother, who I mentioned before, he's a door knocker. He's never done anything else in sales besides knock doors to sell stuff. And solar was new to him in 2019. The spring of 2019, he started looking at it. He was in the whole Vivint churn of things. Like going through all the Vivint products and the Vivint smart home and trying to figure that world out. And he did really well wherever he went. And solar was new. He started cranking through his leads and figured out real quick that he could only close so many deals, because his problem wasn't closing deals or getting leads. He was already good at that. It was, I'm closing deals, but I don't have time to service these deals while also keep generating leads. My pipeline's going to go feast, famine, feast, famine, feast, famine. Right. And that's the door-to-door world 101. I know there's door-to-door people that are going to say, no, you don't have to do it that way. You can do it this way. You can leverage your team. Yeah. But Bennett wasn't a guy. There's more personalities don't like to manage than do, or that are good at management. Does that make sense? So the only way to scale yourself is to manage. There's very few, maybe 5% of all door knocking / sales reps know how to manage a team and like it and enjoy it and actually want to do it. And so Bennett was one of those. He can recruit, he could do all that, but he hated managing. So it was hard to scale himself. So he's like, hey, I know you know marketing. I kind of don't even understand what you do, Brent. So can you just help me like with this marketing game of things and do some of that online lead gen stuff? Or like, how does that work? Right. So we started talking. I was like, sure, I'll help you. But I wasn't thinking solar. I wasn't thinking I was going to get into solar. I actually started with just saying, well, what, like anything, what's your audience? Who are we talking to? What's the offer? Like, what are you actually giving them? Like, why do they buy from you? And then what's their pain points? What's the problem? Why do they even think they're in a problem to hire you to solve their problem? And then how do you present that to them? Like, what is it? So I just went through that with him over the phone. I was in Idaho at the time. He was in California knocking. We're both from Utah. And he was in California, Sacramento area where he started. And then I was in Idaho out of my office like this, talking to him, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. And as he explains things, I'm like, damn, that's a good offer. And I keep looking at it like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So you're telling me, like, really, we could create an offer that's literally like, you don't have to ever pull out your credit card and give me anything, and I will save you money. Are you saying that's correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So like for me, that's always, I'm taking $60,000 payments over the phone. So I'm like, yeah, that'll be 60 grand. That'll be 30 grand. That'll be 10 grand. The least amount was ever $10,000. And you're selling people over the phone saying, yeah, that'll be 10 grand. Boom, done. Or 60 grand, 40 grand. 120 grand was the highest one I've ever done. Like, here you go. What's the credit card? Yeah, it'll be this. And we had to break it into 2 payments. So like, because the credit card, it wouldn't let us charge that much on our merchant account. So I'm used to closing deals. Asking for money is not a big deal. It was just weird that I had to now sell somebody without asking for payment. It was really weird. I didn't understand that world yet, right?
Right.
I didn't understand really what you're selling is a contract is what you're selling. You're selling financing is really what you sell in solar. You don't even sell solar. You sell the solution, what solar brings, but ultimately what they're actually like signing at the bottom line is a financing agreement. That's what they're buying. And most of the time, right? Even a cash deal, they're still saying, I'm going to finance this with cash and here's the agreement, right?
Right.
But the point is once that hit for me, I was like, damn, that's actually an easy sell. As long as we position it right and we don't do things illegally. Because it's easy to get, in a marketer's world, it's easy to sound overhyped and do illegal things when it comes to financing contracts, right? So that's where I came from, man. I came from that where I was like, this sounds too good to be true. And I was just helping. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just come to Sacramento? You got my attention. And then for a year, I kept doing consulting while we built a sales org of solar, door knocking and inside sales, which is online leads to an inside sales team. So that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty wild. So, if you don't mind sharing, like you said, that's a great offer. I mean, what were the beginnings of that offer? Like when you were marketing out to the world, like what was your offer?
It was doing all the weird things that everyone tries. So like, hey, can we say free solar? Is that bad? Is that unethical? You know, the like you're trying to figure out, do we say free solar or get solar free and here's how? And then I figured out, no, let's not do that. We never even ran ads that said that. It was always like zero out of pocket or zero
Mhm.
down. And we figured that out. But even 2019, which you were around because we talked to you, I don't know if you remember that, Russ. Um, Bennett and I, my brother and I actually talked with, not just talked with you. I think you had like a $500 product at the time. We literally bought that product from you. Um,
I think that was my first big Black Friday sale that year, and
yeah,
and
maybe.
I think 18 or 19 was when I came out with the solar course. So yeah, that's probably what you guys got from me.
Yeah. So I remember we're looking at everything, anything and everything. So we bought probably, I don't know how many different things. I mean, at that time, what's the other one called? Solar Cheat Code. I don't mean to
Yep.
name competitors or whatever. It's good for everybody to know all this stuff. Um, all of these, and now you have Solar Exclusive as a lead gen company. You have Prospect Bacon as a lead gen company, like done for you lead gen, right? You have all, and then a bunch of in between ones that no one knows about. That actually work. You just don't know they exist. They suck at marketing. And
Right.
so like they but the point is we tried all that, Russ. So like we were just trying to figure out, because see, I'm not somebody, I've never run ads for my company. Besides, I don't try to be the ad guy. I don't try to run ads. I don't know how to do the algorithms and all that stuff. Not that that's not important. It's just that makes me sick to my stomach. And everybody has that, right? Like I'm just like, ugh. I love the copy. I like why people convert by
Mhm.
that headline compared to this one. I like understanding that, hey, if they click on this ad, when they go to this landing page, I like the post click experience. So after they click, how do I get them to convert at a higher rate to opt in? And how do I get those people to convert at appointments at a higher rate? And then how do I get those people to show up to their appointments? What am I saying? What am I doing? Is it video? Is it email? Is it text message? How do I combine all that and make a nice seamless flow that converts? Because now, as you know,
Mhm.
it's not hard to run some ads. It's annoying hard, but it's not hard.
Nope.
Facebook does most of the work.
Right.
Like Instagram, YouTube, they do all the algorithmic work. You just have to come up with a good offer. As soon as you have a decent offer, it's going to more or less work. Then you optimize it. And frankly, that's kind of a dime a dozen type. Like almost anybody can do that, that actually has spent uh, 300 hours trying to figure it out. Right. So,
Right.
which 300 hours is not that much. It's a few weeks of, or a few months of work trying to figure it out. You're like, okay, I think I could do this for somebody else. That's what we're running into in the solar industry. Everybody's popping up saying I can run your ads. And
Right.
so that's, anyways,
And
I know I'm off on a
not all of
tangent.
them are spending a minimum of 300 hours. Some of them are taking a 2-hour course and saying, "I can run the ads now."
Hell
And
yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like you in that way too. I'm all about, I found really quickly that Facebook is really good at the algorithm and optimizing and things like that. As long as I put together a good offer, bunch of
Right.
images, a few ad copies, and I just let Facebook tell me which one works best, I can optimize that usually within just a few days. Um,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
what I found was exactly what you're saying. Like, for instance, what I'm doing right now is I find with solar ads, um, we we like to get the most amount of leads for the least cost, and then let the people raise their hand if they want it and on the back end. So what I've
Yeah.
been doing is on the lead form, having them say hit a button and say, I want to see my savings, 20-year savings instantly right now. So I have them go to an AI bot where they put in their address, they give us their utility bill, and then it tells them exactly what their savings will be based on PV watts for the next 20 years. Then it follows them up with a link that says, stop missing out on all these savings, book an appointment, right? And we've been
Yep.
having a lot of great success doing that. I've only tested that in like 3 markets. Um, I
That's
find that
awesome.
Spanish speakers will convert into that about 60% of the time. English speakers will convert into that about 40% of the time. And then everybody else, you just have to do hardcore follow up. But I
Yeah.
think where a lot of people miss the boat on this is the part that we're into, and the part that we focus on is that post lead experience, right? Okay, great.
Yeah.
We brought a lead in. We have their name, email, phone number, but now what do we do with them now that we got them, right? We can just keep calling them and calling them and calling them forever, but everybody's
Yeah.
doing that. There has to be something different. There has to be video. There has
Yeah.
to be an AI bot. There has to be something. And that's where I'm a bit different than other people, and you're a bit different than other people because we're looking for that post lead experience where we can legit turn this into money rather than just say, "Hey, I can generate 1,000 leads." Because pretty much, like you said, anybody can generate 1,000 leads. It's can you turn those leads into money or not is really what the end result is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's really great.
Agreed.
So yeah, I don't remember having a call with you and your brother. I apologize. However,
Yeah.
I have admired you from afar for a while, and I can tell everybody that if you weren't at SolarCon, which I was, Brent gave a great speech up on the stage. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was really cool, and you gave a really cool story about Frank Kern. Can you share that with us? Just because I think it would be so useful to other marketers and people in general. Just you just go for what you want, and look what happened to you with Frank Kern.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, Frank, I started off as being mentored. I call them my digital mentors, right? So like Jim Rohn is a digital mentor. I've never met him, but I've watched his stuff. I've listened to his courses, and I just constantly feed off of it and implement it, right? Frank Kern became a digital mentor in 2008, nine. So
Wow. You're going
started
way back
learning from
on Frank Kern then.
yeah. No, he was still surfer, but starting to think about not being a surfer bum marketer, right? Like he was just in like I think 3 years later ish, right around 2011 or 12, he started like, hey, all of a sudden he's wearing a suit and had a haircut, you know? And so like if you look up Frank now, he just kind of looks like an old late 40s into his 50s kind of dude and looks normal. Before he was a super surfer bum. And in his words, he was a surfer bum, not mine. So he that's when I started looking into it. What's interesting though is I've looked up to him a ton and learned so much from him. We launched a fitness product at the time to give you an idea. My wife and I, she's into fitness nutrition big time, and that's what she's known for. And so I cut my teeth on marketing that program that she was developing and doing. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. And I was using everything I learned from Frank. Mike Koenigs is another guy who was more into video at the time. And he does all kinds of weird, innovative stuff. And a few others that were very influential. But Frank I stuck with and still stick with today. Like I still follow Frank stuff. I have all his courses. I have all of his stuff. I'll refer to it quite often and still get his like marketing drip campaigns and all the promos he runs, still get all of those. But I'm sitting there doing that. And finally, 2000, fast forward all the way past the nutrition company. We actually built that and sold that one. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I like this marketing game more than I thought. So I'm going to start marketing. I'm going to start doing some consulting and I start doing, or not consulting, excuse me, services. So I start building funnels. I didn't even really call them funnels. I started building, website / landing pages and building the online marketing funnels. And at the time I'm building these things and we got some momentum going, but I haven't had any big clients, just the small clients, people who are just getting into coaching, consulting. Of course they were in nutrition and fitness because they watched my experience with nutrition and fitness. And they're like, hey, can you help me do that? Right. And then others who were just into more self-help stuff, people who were doing all kinds of weird stuff that I would help them build a funnel behind that, help them refine their marketing offer, and then build a funnel, even build courses and do all the A to Z. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, you know what? I'm reading Chet Holmes' book, and he's talking about this Dream 100 effort. And Dream 100 is nothing more than a partnership effort of some sort where you get referral partners to give you really good, high quality leads. And if you can just land one of these partners, they're literally going to transform your business. Two will just be amazing. You won't ever have to hardly get leads yourself again. Three will overwhelm you. So when I say Dream 100 partners, they're not like anybody and everybody give me some referrals. It's not like an affiliate program. It's a full on, like, these guys are the top HVAC in the solar world. I'm looking for the top HVAC company in Phoenix. They have so many homeowner leads that it's unreal. And if I just can convert 2% of their customers to solar, I won't have to sell again. I won't even need a knocking team if I didn't want one. That's what I
Right.
mean by a dream client, right? Or a dream referral partner. Well, when I was learning that from Chet Holmes, and so I was reading about that. I'm like, that's cool. I'll just try that. Who should I put on my list? And Frank Kern was one of them. And
Right.
so then I go ahead, I start sending him stuff. I'm sending other people stuff as well. And Frank, I did a little more personal level because I knew his stuff. I've studied it. I knew it front and back. I'm using it. So I took the angle of, hey, Frank, I wanted to thank you for all the stuff you've taught me. I'm happy to do whatever you need me to do. I'm whatever you need from me. I have a marketing agency now. If you need any services, let me know. I'll just do it for free. That was my angle.
Right.
And so, and I meant it. No, I had no, that was the key thing. And I knew that intentionally. I was like, I can't go about this that I need Frank as a client. I just want to first thank him. If it goes from there, it will. Right. Like at that point,
Right.
I had no attachment to this better turn into something. In fact, I hate that. I hate that kind of attitude. Like, I don't like dealing with people like that anyways. So like, the point is this, I was going out about it. Of course, I'm hoping it turns into something, but no attachment to it. So I'm going. I sent the last thing I was sending him emails because I didn't have his email. So I was sending, Gerald was her name, his assistant at the time. More than assistant. She ran everything at the time. She doesn't work for him anymore. And Gerald, I'm messaging and she finally gets back to me. Sorry. Yeah, no, not interested. Or I'm sure I'll forward this to him. And I know what that means. She's the gatekeeper. And so what I did was I was like, okay, well, Gerald, what's the best mailing address that if I mail him something, he will get it? And so she said this address. I was like, all right, cool. So I started mailing him stuff. And so 3 months in, I've mailed him one thing, two things. And the last one I mailed him was a big box. It's just from Send Out Cards. If anybody's looked at Send Out Cards, it's like an MLM for cards.
I've actually used it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So like, they had this box of goodies, like a big one. It was the big one. It cost like $150. And so I'm like, what the hell? Let's try that one. So I send this, I don't know, it may not even been $150, but no more than that. And they have this thing called the big card. And it was take an 8.5 by 11, or it's 11 by 17 folded in half. So it ends up, the card is like an 8.5 by 11 folded. Like, it's a big ass card. And then on the front, I just chose the image. I'm telling you these details, guys, because I didn't go overkill. I didn't overthink it. I was just like, sure, I'm literally just picking from a template. I'm like,
Right.
okay, yeah, I'll grab some cookies. And then I found this one that has a bra on the front of it, and it said, "Thanks for all your support." And that was the line
That's
that was the
awesome.
line that, yeah, that was the line I was coming from, though. I was like, I want to thank you. I've been trying to say thank you. How can I serve you? Right. And so that one, and I always this was key for me, is I was like, you know what, if I'm going to partner with somebody, or they're going to partner with me, they're doing me a favor. I know that I'm doing them a favor, but ultimately they're doing me a favor. They don't have to have me. Um, and I'm going to not make them go through any hoops. Here is my cell phone number. Call
Right.
or text me when you're ready. That's the key on the call to action with Dream 100 partners. Don't make them click a link. Don't scan a QR code. Don't do any of that. Just like, here's my cell phone. When you're ready, I'm available. Right?
Right.
Text or call me. And so, that's how I did it. So anyways, that got his attention. What was cool is I was going to speak at a mastermind, for Robert G. Allen. He's like a real estate guru, one of the first great info marketers of real estate. And he had a mastermind at his mansion in San Diego area. So I flew in there. I'm going to go speak there. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting ready. I'm already nervous for that. I get nervous at any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know. It just makes me nervous. I enjoy it, but I'm nervous. So the nerves are already worked up. I'm landing in San Diego. It's that evening that I'm going to go meet his team. The next day I'm going to speak. Right. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to get there a day early, go meet the team, hang out a little bit. And as I land, I turn my phone back on and I get a text. It says, "Hey, Brent, got your package," or something. I forget what it was. I wish I would have screenshotted this. Um, and let's talk, or something like that. Basically, it's let's talk, but it didn't say who it was. I was like, who is this? And then he says, Frank. I'm like, Frank who? Like, what are we talking about? And finally, it was Frank Kern. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So that's what happened. Ultimately, I got his attention. He texts me. What's cool about it is I'm on the plane and I'm sitting there. I'm all excited, of course. I'm like, holy crap, Frank Kern's texting me. Um, and he goes, "I just live down the road, man. Why don't you come up to my house now?" I'm like, Oh, wait,
Wow.
you serious? So like that's how that went off. So I literally got in. I'm excited. Like my heart's just pumping. I go to the rental car place. There's no Turo or anything like that at the time, right? There's not an
Right.
Uber. And then maybe Uber might have been available just then. And then I get my car. I got the rental car. All I'm thinking is like, holy shit, I'm going to like Frank Kern's house. He's texting me his address, put it in the maps, and I'm driving. And I'm going up this hill, Rancho Santa Fe, I think is what it's called. Anyways, going up that area in the hills, go to a gated community, put in the code that he gives me. I'm going up like, holy crap, this is so weird. I did not come here for this. That was the weird experience about it. So
Wow.
that's the story. From there, it just led to a partnership. Not at first. Again, not at first. So about 2 months later, after just texting back and forth, helping him out with whatever he needed. 2 months, guys, not 2 weeks, not 2 days, not 2 hours. 2 months. 2 months is not that long, but after you go to somebody's house, it's easy
Right.
to be impatient for 2 months because you got work to do. You still got to make money. You still got to do stuff, right? So, but I didn't care. I was like, no, if Frank asked me something, I'm doing it. I'm going to help. I'm dropping whatever I can to help. And so he understood. He was judging me on all that. I already knew he was. He's like, okay, let's see. And then as soon as I delivered on those things, he was like, all right, so hey, what if we just partnered on this thing? I said, what thing? And he's like, well, I want to sell some of these done for you services that you do. See, he didn't do it at the time. And what if I sold all of you fulfill the services, I sell the stuff. I market to my list. When they buy it, you fulfill the services. I was like, hell yeah,
Wow.
what do you want to do? So we just did a split. So we split that. I did a lot of the sales calls. That was actually kind of fun. It wasn't a lot of sales calls outbound. I just mean when people would say, hey, I have some questions before I buy this thing for, I think it was like $7,000 or $8,000 for this package. I have some questions. And I was like, oh, sure. And I would just jump on a call with them, close the deal, and we'd get signups for these workshops / done for you services. So that was it, dude. Like that was Dream 100 to nurture the relationship, to partnership, to, of course, after you partner with someone, Frank Kern, it's so easy to get more people like that after that. It's very easy.
Yeah, man. And thank you so much for sharing that story because so many of us out there have a dream like that, right? Where there's people with like, for instance, you're on somebody's Dream 100 list. I mean, to be honest with you, you're on my Dream 100 list to have you on the Solar King podcast because you are one of the just best guys, most coolest guys, and a great solar marketer. So I wanted to have you on this because I know
Thanks,
from
man.
my own, selfish point of view, my podcast will grow because I had Brent Attaway on my podcast, right? Um, but that is really just such a cool story. And if you don't mind asking, like, what type of a program did you guys sell together for that high ticket, if that even was high
Yeah.
ticket? Like,
At the time, it was, yeah, no, it was like a mix of, it's a hybrid of done with you and done for you services. So we he Frank's known for he names all his campaigns he runs, or these, in a way, they're campaigns and funnels. It depends. Some of them are just emails. But like he ran one called the Survey Siphon. He has another one called, he has all these names. I don't even remember them all now. And but he became known of like offering these courses and services, but basically they're like little mini funnels or portions of a funnel that all connected and interconnected together, right? So like, hey, you
right.
use this to get the lead, and then you do the Survey Siphon thing and you survey them, and then you deliver this, and then you do a launch, and you do a video series launch, and then you sell your product. And hey, how would you like me to install all of those little funnels inside of your CRM and Infusionsoft at the time? We'll install all of that for you. Plus, come to this workshop. We'll hang out and I'll answer your questions and do everything you need to like any of this. But before you even get to the workshop, that's going to be installed for you.
Wow,
So
that's cool
that
stuff.
was that was it. So it was more like a hybrid. I don't know what he's doing now. I'm pretty sure he doesn't even need to do the workshops ever anymore. He might just do them to build the relationship. But he's a very much of an introvert person. He
Yeah,
does
I
not like.
actually I had a chance to meet him in person. I went to a Grant Cardone event when he partnered with Grant for a little bit of time. I know
Yeah,
they're not working together anymore, but he was so kind and generous. Like I just went to the back of the room, shook his hand, and said, "Hey, you've been very helpful to me. Thank you." I got a picture with him, and
yeah,
here's a little nugget that I learned recently about Frank Kern. If you use ChatGPT to help you enhance your ad copy, you can tell it write it in Frank Kern style, and it
yeah.
will take your copy and write it like Frank would. And I'll tell you what, and this is a little secret. I haven't put this in my course yet, but as you know, I'm always updating my solar course.
Yeah.
The best converting copy I have for English solar leads in the whole entire country, and I've tested it in 3 markets now, is Frank Kern style copy. My regular copy, without giving the Frank Kern flavor, was getting like $12 leads. We're getting them for like $3 in every city. That much of it, it's just because of how Frank rewards things. A very, very folksy, very, very just easy, happy to get along with type style. I don't write like that. Frank does. So now ChatGPT somehow has that in its database, and it can write like Frank Kern, which is just
Yeah,
freaking
it
amazing.
has. Frank has so much stuff online since he's been in what 1999 is when he first started actually trying to make money online, and then he started selling courses and all kinds of stuff and programs since like early 2000s. So ChatGPT has recorded as much as it can, right? Oh, let's just say everything. For the I don't think everything, but let's just pretend it has everything of Frank Kern that's posted online ever all the way to 2021. So it knows Frank Kern's style.
Right.
Now, if it asks
And
Russ Ward
it
or Brent
converts,
Attaway
right?
style,
Obviously.
it's not gonna
Yeah.
know. Like I haven't been a no, it hasn't recorded our voice yet online, right? And
Right.
so it's kind of neat, and it does convert. It's really most of my copy. How I write, I like writing like Frank Kern, and he's learned from Dan Kennedy and others, but mostly Dan Kennedy. Um, and so I study a lot of Dan Kennedy as well. That's a strategy I always use is, hey, if you have a mentor, go see who they were mentored by and study their stuff too.
Right.
Understand where it came from. And
Makes
because
sense.
you learn nuances that you might relate to their mentor more than your own mentor. So it's kind of cool and you can kind of mix your own stuff.
Right.
But yeah, that's uh that's amazing. That's so cool that you have higher converting just by like doing that in ChatGPT.
So before we move on from this topic, just real quick, because I know a lot of people could really benefit from making a Dream 100 list and actually going after it. Once you did get that initial connection, and in your case, you got to go to Frank Kern's house. How do you like facilitate that relationship? Like, you just kind of stand by and wait for him to ask you things, or do you like kind of reach out and probe and say, "Hey, what can I do? What can I do?"
Yeah, so in Frank's case, it was more probe because I
Mhm.
wasn't sure how I knew not to just jump the gun and say we should partner. I was going to leave that up to him. Again, he had all the leverage, which I don't mean this in a negotiation way. I just mean he had all the leverage. Like it was on his table, like all the goods were there. I had a service, but a service is nothing without a bunch of leads and a bunch of people who want to buy it. And
Right.
so he had all the people who want to buy it. He had all the leverage. So I just waited. I just kept nurturing. So what I did was what kept that relationship going is and frankly I can tell you how I do a different one as well in a Dream 100 relationship because a lot of them don't start off like Frank's. That's not super unique, but it's a different one. But Frank's was this. It was he after I left his house. I mean, it was more or less, hey, can you help me with? I think we talked about webinar funnels. He's like, look, I know how to do a webinar funnel. What's your intake on this? And how do you automate this part? I can't figure that out. And I was like, oh, you would do this, you do this, and you do this. And then some of it I didn't even know. Like guy on my team, Ross. Ross was like, oh, I can figure that out. Like I text him, I was like, let me ask Ross because I don't know, Frank. And that's a good thing too, is don't pretend like you know everything, guys. Like when you're talking to people, don't try to impress them. Just be honest. Be confident, but be honest. So like I wasn't trying to pretend like I knew everything. I was like, you know what? That's a good one. I think I would do it this way, but Ross would probably know. Let me check. Um, and so we worked on that, and he's like, "Oh, thank. This has been really helpful. I'm glad you came over." And I was like, "Yeah, thank you." Right. And so afterwards, it was more like, "Hey, Brent, do you mind checking this out?" And because I told him, I just said, "Look, I will refine anything you need. I know you like working kind of by yourself, so you don't need to hire me. You don't need to worry about it. Don't even pay me. You've paid me enough. I've learned this stuff. Just let me know. I'll make time to get it done." And whatever it is. So he'd just send me questions and I think he was just probing. I've never asked him this, but he was probing back. He's like, is this guy serious? Because there's a lot of people that say shit that don't follow through, right? And
Right.
so that's how it was. So that's more or less what happened with him. And then finally, he's the one that just said, "Hey, I like this. Do you think we could offer all of this as a service? Would you be willing to fulfill on it?" That was it. He offered
Wow.
it.
That's
Um, I would say most people it's not going to go like that. It goes more like what I did with Laura Langmeyer. By Laura Langmeyer, by the way, was way more revenue than Frank. Frank was a really good name and a really good person to work with, but Laura Langmeyer, she had like a lot of leverage. She's This gal, she's just a powerhouse, and she had a sales floor and all kinds of products and all kinds of investing products and just a whole realm of things. And so hers was, we did a service for her, like her alone, like got her as a client, not as a Dream 100 partner. And then I was like, oh, I now see what you do. I'd love to partner with you, not just build funnels for you, but build funnels for your clients. And so then I let her know what we do. And then I essentially, I scheduled every time we had a meeting with her team. Russ was his name. Or actually, no, his last name was Russ. Wow. Anyways, it was Russ. I remember, I need to remember his first name. Jeff Russ. And he was the guy I was meeting with, not Laurel. So you have to go through their gatekeeper or whoever you're working with. You really have to get to that person, right? They might talk to you like Laurel would talk to me and see me, and she knew who I was, but she wasn't going to sit down and say, yeah, Brent, pitch me. That wasn't going to happen yet. So you have to really pitch Jeff, and Jeff and I would talk. And then eventually I was like, Jeff, you understand we did this for Frank. So name drop. We
Right.
understand we did this from Frank. We built all the funnel stuff. This might be a revenue. I just put it in his ear, the bug in his ear. Like, this could be a great revenue source for you guys to sell on your sales floor. And let's see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, no big deal. He's like, oh, okay, I'll put that by Laurel. And months go by of me just kind of helping. And then finally they're like, look, I think we're ready to do what you're doing. This is a really good opportunity. And Laurel brought this up. And could this be something you want to do? So that's when now I can pitch. So then I say,
Got it.
yes, let's set up a meeting with Laurel. We go in and I pitch the whole thing. I can full on, just like you'd pitch anything else, features, benefits, what's in it for you. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you don't have to do. We'll do it. Here's what we expect from you. Like, you got to do the whole thing, just like any business. And you pitch that, and then they say, hell yeah, let's do that. This is the no brainer. So that's it. My
Amazing.
camera went a little bit fuzzy on mine
Yeah,
there.
I
You
saw
still good?
that. I was wondering if it was my connection, but it's good stuff, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. So to kind of switch away from marketing, because I know I have a bunch of marketers that watch this, but mostly it's going to be solar guys. And I know you have the Solar Academy. Is the Solar
Yep.
Academy more training for solar sales reps and not so much marketers, right?
Yes. Yep. It's sales rep and sales business owner heavy. So
And what does that entail? Like, what do you do with that?
so it's good. I'll give you what it is, but then I'll give you a juxtaposition so you understand the difference between others, right? Um, that way, kind of, oh, that would be value or not. But like, Solar Academy is a hub where you can just kind of find all things solar related, including people you might buy from. So like you, Russ, need to be in Solar Academy. There's my pitch for you. But like, we'll have visiting trainers come in and train. And so it's a one-stop shop. So you can kind of learn from everyone in the solar industry and understand. And then we have resources and on-demand training in there. But we don't have any on-demand training that's supposed to compete with Russ or with Danny Pessy or with Michael O'Donnell. It's more like it all is the basics of solar. And then if you want to go learn how to sell on the doors, go over here. If you want to go learn how to do ads or do this, go over here. And we bring all the trainers in. And so we bring it's more like of a discovery hub, Solar Academy. And then we do have some things we're working on to essentially certifications in solar so we can kind of streamline. That's not out yet, but essentially people can hire others that they know their stuff. Like, hey, I'm certified through Solar Academy. I've gone through their courses of the latest in solar. I
Oh,
understand
cool.
how an inverter works. I understand how batteries work. I understand how to sell in NEM3 or this or that. I'm certified in that. And so now you can actually kind of trust a little more, and it brings a community together. That's what Solar Academy is for. It's training, it's bringing people together in a community and being able to actually collaborate from all angles. And then we'll have certifications in the future as we build the community. The community is not that big right now. It's maybe 200 people actively engaging. Solar's
Is
not
that
that
in
big either way.
a Facebook
But
group right now, or is that someplace else?
no, it's someplace else. We use a platform called Mighty Networks right now. So like it helps. It's kind of like your own private Facebook group, if you want to look at it that way.
Oh,
in a
cool.
community. And
Okay.
then you can put courses inside of it as well. But
So if
yeah,
people want to find out more about this and check it out, where can they go? Is there a website for it?
yeah, thesolaracademy.com, thesolaracademy.com.
Okay. That's pretty easy.
Yeah,
Another
yeah.
thing I saw you do too is and I get your emails on this, and I think I get text messages from you about it too. You do some live events where you do in-person training as well, don't you?
Hmm. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how people could get involved with that with you if they'd like to?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. So Solar Academy specific, we have boot camps now and again. So is that the one you're asking about, or just any live events?
I saw you did one in Texas, I think, recently, and was it over the 4th of July or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep. So first of all, yes, Solar Academy does events. Two, I have my own, more or less my own brand, if you will. It's either Brent Attaway or I love FU Money, or FU Money. It's that's more or less the brands I operate under, but it's all marketing. And so the live events that I do are sporadic right now because I like virtual events more. People tend to be able to attend those. Not because they don't, not necessarily because of like COVID or something anymore. It's
Right.
more like I think everyone has been forced to realize that the virtual world ain't so bad. Like, hey, I don't have to book a hotel and fly and learn this. I can just do it from a virtual space. So I like the in-person homes for the collaboration and the community and the relationship building, like in-person workshops, I should say. But virtual is actually what I do more of. So the in-person workshops I do because I'm already there. So hey, I'm going to Dallas this week for XYZ reason. I'm going to hold a workshop while I'm there. And so it helps me do things like that. But yeah, those workshops, the focus of them, I call them marketing makeovers. So for solar companies, that's all I do it for. And right now, eventually, I'm going to start doing them for home services in general, like HVAC or pest control or you name it, right? But overall, marketing makeover consists of the key essential things that every company or business owner should be doing in their marketing to complement their massive sales efforts. Because for whatever reason, besides just being ignorant, which is a large reason, and I don't mean that rudely. I mean like literally the term, the definition of ignorant, like just ignoring the fact, like not even trying to learn it, right? But
Right.
when you're a salesperson and you start a sales org, or you eventually start an installation company, or you're an installation dude on the roof all the time, or and you decide to start a company because you can install panels better somehow, right? You're not. Both of those positions don't come from marketing. One comes from fulfillment mindset, like I'm an installer and I think I can make a better mousetrap, right? That's really that mindset.
Right.
And then the other one comes from I can sell anything, so I'm selling solar.
Right.
But neither of them come from maybe I should have a strategy that brings me in a constant drip of leads, so I'm not worried about that shit all the time. So like that's marketing. A constant drip of interested people raising their hand saying, I think I want what you have. Tell me more.
Right.
Marketing's job is to do that. And then not only get them to tell me more, but also before they even get to the sales cycle, why don't we qualify them? Why don't we get them to jump through a few hoops so we don't have to call absolutely everybody that says,
Right.
here's my hand raise. I just want to call the people who are a lot more interested. And
Right.
so marketing's job is really to make sales superfluous. Like that's a Peter Drucker quote. Superfluous means worthless, useless. You should not have to sell any product once it becomes mainstream. It just becomes sold. You don't have to
Right.
do a whole lot of selling over the phone or anything. It's just you buy it. Now it's more about which t-shirt do I want, right? Like no one has to call me to buy a t-shirt. But hey, if a t-shirt was new and nobody knew about it, you might have to convince me a little bit. That's what solar is right now. So there is some sales involved. Well, and I say right now, I don't think it'll ever leave that because big services like this are hard for people to trust, right?
Right.
But the point is my job in the marketing makeover workshops, and whether you do a workshop or not, just think like this more. So this would be the benefit of listening to the podcast right now is start thinking, how can I, like everything that I'm doing on my website, my lead funnels, my follow-up, my even my check-in calls with customers who have already bought from me, What about my process after they buy from me? How do I get referrals from them? Everything that would generate more leads. What are you doing to make that happen? And are you doing it on purpose?
Right.
And if you're just, that's what the marketing makeover workshop. So basically, I put all the pieces into place that will get somebody started. Can't do that in a 2-day period. That's how long the workshop is. But like, I can't do everything. But I basically just point out the main segments of what you should do, and then hey, let's get you going. It's like a kickstart towards your marketing.
Right.
So it's kind
Yeah,
of
that
fun.
sounds really awesome, man. Do you have another one of those coming up?
Next week. I have
Like,
right now. I'm doing 2 of those. They're virtual workshops. I'm doing 2 of those a month for solar business owners right now, only right now. And then from there. So if you're like a sales rep, this wouldn't be as, or a sales manager, and you dominate and you're awesome even, or you're a beginner, it really wouldn't be a good fit, because we're talking things that are out of your control. Like, go change this in your marketing, go change this in your company.
right.
That's out of your control. But yeah, that's what it's for. That's who it's for. But next week we do one on Thursday, Friday, and then it's about every other week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is can they get to that from your website? I mean, you're dropping a lot of good stuff here, man. That I know people that watch this are going to want to take advantage of.
Yeah, yeah. If they go to brentattaway.com, they can get to it there. I'm trying to think of the best way. Yeah, brentattaway.com, and then you have options to click on the workshops and
Okay.
events. Yeah.
And anybody that sees this video, I'm going to have links under this. So I'll have Brent's websites. I'll have ways to contact him, like his stuff, consume his content, all that good stuff. Brent, we're getting up here in time, and I know people tend to zone out after a certain amount of time. So I'm going to
Sure.
wrap it up here. I do want to thank you again for coming on, because, I mean, you shared a lot of great things with us today. And, you're somebody that I personally admire. So I want to thank you for coming on the show with me as well.
Thanks, Russ. No, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate it. Thank you.